What is going on, everybody? Prodigal Lion here, and there was an article published by Kotaku recently that I actually wanted to go ahead and talk about because it really caught my eye. Now, the article is talking about a 19-year-old who has a problem with gambling. But the problem is that it's not just any type of gambling, it's buying microtransactions within video games. Now, he wishes to remain anonymous, but he did post about this entire story on Reddit under the name Kinsgold. Ultimately, somehow, him and Kotaku got in contact, and he ended up sharing his bank statements with Kotaku, and it was confirmed that he spent over $13,500.25 on microtransactions over the course of 3 years. Now, I mean, this is honestly the craziest thing I think I've ever heard. Ultimately, he actually started spending money on in-game purchases at the young age of only 13, which actually surprises me because most people, kids at that age, don't really have like a source of income. I mean, I'd imagine he probably had like some allowance or little ways, birthday money, to like little ways to earn money, but it's just still crazy that I didn't buy my first in-game purchase until I was probably at least 15, but I think I was like 16 or 17. Where it really got bad for him was when he got hooked on buying microtransactions in the mobile game The Hobbit: Kingdoms of Middle-earth. Now, apparently that game, I don't know anything about the game, but apparently it pretty much requires you to buy in-game currency if you really, in order to actually be competitive. And apparently that was one of the reasons that the reviewers trashed that game so hard. And ultimately, of course, now that game is now defunct. I think the whole reason it's not running anymore is because I think it was bought out by a Chinese organization or something like that, and it just wasn't as popular after that. So, but ultimately the game is not around anymore. In the summer of 2015, he spent around $800 on in-game purchases. That's just in the summer alone of 2015. By the end of the year, he had spent $4,116 on microtransactions over the course of like a couple games. So yeah, this obviously shows how $13,000 over the course of 3 years adds up. I mean, if you spend $4,000 over the course of a couple years, I mean, that's definitely going to add up to around $13,000. Now, the craziest part about all this is he was doing this mostly like while he was in high school, and the only job he really held was he worked at Panera, and he only earned like probably anywhere between $300 to $400 per paycheck every 2 weeks, and he admitted that he says he thinks he spent 90% of his paychecks on in-game purchases. In the gaming industry, this is what you call a whale, and a whale is somebody who's not only buys microtransactions, but buys like an absurd amount of them and spends absurd amounts of money. Like, I don't mean buys like a $2 thing here, $5 thing here, maybe $10 thing here. I mean, a whale is somebody who spends thousands and hundreds of dollars over the course of just a couple months and while buying microtransactions. Now, this really started to cause a debate in the comment section on the article, talking about like people like this, like Kinsgold, like these are the types of people that really are starting to ruin games because this is what's making the gaming companies push microtransactions so hardcore. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely remember when I was a kid. I mean, if you bought the standard edition of the game, you got it. You had everything. They didn't really add much. If they did, you got it for free, or there was maybe a little bit of like an expanded edition or something for a little bit extra money. But there wasn't none of this crazy microtransaction DLC overpriced bullshit like there is in nowadays games. A perfect example of too many microtransactions would be Grand Theft Auto 5 Online. In order to really be able to do things fun in GTA 5 Online, you gotta buy. I mean, yes, you can work and do missions in order to buy all the new airplane hangars and all the. I don't even know exactly what they update in GTA 5 anymore. But the point is, you can grind it out, but you'd be playing the game so much that it's not even worth earning the money to buy the items you want half the time. So mostly you got to spend real money to get the fake money so that you can buy what you want in GTA 5. That right there is ultimately the reason I stopped playing GTA 5. Like, I personally, I don't really buy microtransactions that much. Like, I do from time to time, but it's only a couple bucks. Like, I think the most I ever spent on one microtransaction purchase was $40, and that was actually just recently because I bought a bundle of supply drops in Call of Duty World War II. But that was right there was the only time I've ever bought supply drops in any Call of Duty, and that was easily the biggest purchase I've ever made. Any other purchases I ever make in microtransactions typically range from anywhere between $1 to $10, and it's just typically just a little bit of in-game currency within games I enjoy, such as Rainbow Six Siege, maybe Call of Duty, and so on and so on. Now, apparently his addiction got so bad, his mom apparently tried to shut off their internet so that he couldn't play anymore. And obviously he was able to work his way around this because he was playing mobile games a lot of the time. So, and obviously you can just use the data. You don't need Wi-Fi. So he still found his way around that, and he still continued to buy in-game purchases on mobile games. And on top of this, he got a second job so that he would have more money to spend on microtransactions. It got so bad, he actually ended up getting a therapist so that he could have somebody tell him how wrong and dumb this is. I mean, honestly, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's microtransactions, and you gotta get a therapist, and your mom has to try to shut off the internet. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's called self-control. Like, what makes you want to spend money that absurdly? Long story short, he eventually moved over to PC gaming, and one of the games he actually played on PC was Smite. And he says that at the peak of his interest in the game, he owned over 300 of the in-game characters' skins that were purely cosmetic. It's situations like this that where people started to get a little divided in the comment section, saying that it's gambling and it's a crazy addiction. And then there's also some people saying that this is just him collecting, because it's just like collecting any other item, like shoes or baseball cards or anything like that. People are arguing that buying cosmetic items in games is just a form of collecting. While yes, I do agree with this, I by no means think that this was his issue. I don't think he was really doing this purely for collecting. This was an addiction this guy had. And while I do think that it's crazy that he's spending this much money, and I do think it's dumb, and I feel like he could have had self-control for it, there is kind of something you have to acknowledge as far as it's just like any other addiction. It may seem stupid because it's buying items within a video game, but it's just like some people just have something psychologically in them where they can get addicted to the craziest things. There's a reason there's a show called My Strange Addiction. People gotta understand that once you're addicted to something, no matter what it is, it ain't like a cigarette smoker. It ain't as simple as, hey man, after that cigarette, you gotta go ahead and stop. And it's never that simple. It's always gotta be one more, just one more, just one more. And sure enough, one more of anything that you're addicted to leads to nonstop use, to the point where it's just unhealthy. And while people are addicted to drugs and stuff like that, it can definitely transfer over to other things, and apparently in this case, microtransactions in video games. Now, towards the end of the article, it does kind of start saying that he's not like that anymore. He doesn't buy microtransactions uncontrollably anymore, which that makes sense. He's 19 years old nowadays. He did that probably through middle school and high school, and you already know when you're young, you're very undisciplined with a lot of things, but especially when it comes to money. So yeah, I do think that this is a pretty interesting story, and I thought it was crazy, so that's why I wanted to go ahead and share it with you guys. I did leave some things out because I just wanted to make this video short as possible by bringing you the most basic information. But if you guys want to check out the rest of the article and anything I left out, I will link it down into the description. And also let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this whole situation and microtransactions in general, because I personally, I mean, gaming is really getting out of hand with these microtransactions. Like, the only game I really can be understanding as far as like really pushing microtransactions is Fortnite, because I love the Fortnite Battle Royale game mode, and they do have microtransactions on cosmetic items, and it was a free game. So I mean, in situations like that, like free games or really cheap games, I can understand pushing microtransactions a little bit. But when you look at a lot of big games like that, you have to spend $60 on the base game, and then you have to spend hundreds more dollars to get anything that you really want. It's already bad enough when it comes to cosmetic items, but there's too many games out there that kind of rely purely on buying actual in-game currency in order to be able to enjoy the game like all fully. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about everything, and I will see you guys in the next video.